Hello traders, Rich here and welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to cover the 7 most requested instruments or coins that you guys requested over the past 1 or 2 weeks. So I'll skip the intro for today because we have 7 instruments to cover, but you know what to do, right? If you like the content and find it useful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as it will help the channel grow for other members to see and of course for me to keep going. So let's get started and as usual, cheers. Let's start with Bitcoin, right? So first of all, and we also have six other instruments, like Ethereum, like XRP, Litecoin, and so on. So first of all, many members are asking me if the momentum is finally shifted from bearish to bullish, and my answer is always the same. Be careful of this 40K, right? So because the 40K is still acting as a resistance, because we didn't have a big bullish candle close above it. We only had this one, which we have also a wick from the upper side, and it's not that massive or aggressive, right? Just like this one, it's not enough to confirm a break above a resistance, and this one as well. But this one, for example, is a big bullish candle closing above this one, pushing away from the resistance. For all the scenarios that no matter what type of trader you are, it is a broken resistance for you. While this one, for example, maybe some traders would have put the resistance around here. It's not broken yet, right? So it's not broken yet, only slightly broken above the 40K, which is not enough. So it's still acting as resistance. And for Bitcoin to have a shift in momentum from bearish to bullish, we need to see another bullish candle closing above this bullish candle. So around the 40K and 700, for example. Until we see this, the 40K zone is still acting as resistance and can reject the price. And as you can see now, the price rejected the 40K and is going lower. If you zoom into H4 time frame, also we can see that we were overall bearish, right? So we were bullish, then higher highs, higher lows, then price broke below the previous low. So now we are overall bearish, and it was around a resistance. I posted this one like a couple of weeks ago, and then the correction movement started. Then the price, then we were looking for buy setups around the 50K, which didn't happen, right? The price didn't break above the previous highs and kept moving lower, and instead broke this support zone for it to become resistance. And as you can see, kept moving lower, then broke below this. That's the support again. So now this one is acting as a resistance. And as you can see now, lower highs and lower lows, right? So we had this high broken upward. However, we do have the 40K resistance. So we don't buy, or we don't, the market structure is not enough to confirm a reversal, right? So we need, first of all, we start from the bigger view, for example, from daily time frame in our particular case, and then we'll zoom into our time frames. For example, if price now breaks above this area, then on the retest, yes, we can rely on market structure and trend lines and patterns, and then we can look for buy setups. But we don't look for buy setups around a resistance. So what I'll be waiting for is, for Bitcoin, is first of all to approach the 30K to look for buy setups, because it would be the next support, or break above the 40K to confirm that the bulls are finally in control. In this case, I'll be looking for buy setups on retest. This is my trading plan for Bitcoin. And if we zoom into lower time frames, we can see that now the momentum is shifted from bullish from a short period of time, of course, from a short-term perspective. So we're bullish, price is making higher highs and higher lows. Then the price failed to make a higher high and instead made a lower high. And as you can see, we have a head and shoulders pattern. And what are the patterns anyway, right? So the patterns are just market structure. So if you understand market structure, you don't have to memorize the patterns. So for example, a double top pattern is nothing but the price failed to make a higher high and instead made an equal high, right? As known as a double top pattern. And of course, for it to become active or confirmed, the price has to break what? Below the neckline, which would be what? The previous or the last low, right? So this is just it. We have a head and shoulders pattern and price broke below the previous low, but the head and shoulders pattern is usually the neckline which covers the entire structure, which would be around here. So the price broke below the previous low around resistance. It's an indication that the sellers are taking over. And then we also had a break below this neckline. So now for extra confirmation, if you also have a break below these lows here, below the 35K, then we can know that now a movement till this low or this low, and which is the 30K zone, support zone would be expected, right? So this is my trading plan for Bitcoin, while overall bearish from a short-term perspective, and of course from a long-term perspective as well, unless, again and again, unless we have a break above this area here, or price approaches the 30K, and then we've got a buy setup formed here, just like here, for example. Now we can say that now the bulls took over, okay? This is for Bitcoin. For Ethereum, I'll not go over it in details because I've already done a video about it just yesterday. So price was around here, and just like Bitcoin, right? So you can see the exact same pattern or a similar pattern on almost all altcoins. But because the Bitcoin is the mother and everyone else are the kids, right? And they are following their mother. So long story short, on Ethereum, I will not spend more time in it. If you want to watch it in details, like a 4 or 5 minutes video, you can check the TradingView, right? So this one, what happened is the price broke above this 2.5 resistance with a big, massive candle. So not just like this one. This one was small, still acting as resistance, okay? But this one was a massive, big bullish candle. So it's confirmed that now the bulls took over here, and then as you can see, retest and then tried it higher. Now the 2.5K is acting as what? Obviously as support. So I'll be looking for buy setups. But yesterday the price was around here, and I mentioned that the 30K or 2 days ago, the 30K is still acting as resistance, and Ethereum is not going to go higher to test the 3.5K unless we have a big bullish candle or 2 small bullish candles breaking above this 3K. Okay, so this is it for Ethereum. Next we have Ripple. Many members are asking me about Ripple, and as you clearly see, we've got this support around 0.5, 0.6, which is also the price rejected it around here and traded higher. So now, are we overall bullish or not yet? Not yet, right? Especially because the price failed to break above the 1. And as you can see, it was acting as a demand previously, an aggressive movement upward. The price rejected it. It's also a 1, and price, as you can see, broke it downward, retest, and then rejected it down. So it's acting as a resistance zone. Okay, now if traded lower, this is our next support. If traded higher, this is our next resistance, which is obviously the all-time high and the round number 2, right? And as you can see it here, round number 2, because I guess I have my video up there, right? So this is the round number 2, which is our next resistance for Ripple. And I've posted the exact same thing around here, that we were stuck inside this range. For Ripple to go any higher, it has to break above this area, and I guess we can see it even clearer from weekly time frame. That's it, right? I posted this one, that for Ripple to trade any higher, it has to break above this one first, second the 1, and broke, and with this bullish candle broke above both. Now it's retesting this area, which is also what? A strong demand area from where? From weekly time frame, which is a very interesting area. As you can see, aggressive bullish movement from here. So it's a very interesting area, 0.5 and 0.6. And if price retests it to get more liquidity, then it's definitely a very strong area to look for buy setups. Or the price can still go up from here. The buyers can take over because it's a demand area. So already the price tests it, but it can test it again, of course, before going up to dig deeper to get more liquidity to be able to push price higher. Anyway, it can go straight up from here, but for the buyers to take full control, they have to break above the 1 again and again. Wait for the break above the 1 and above, as mentioned previously on Ethereum, above what? Above the what is it? Yes, above the 2.5K, and on Bitcoin above the 40K. Okay, so this one can still test this area before going up, and you also have a massive demand zone on weekly time frame also on Bitcoin. So it's a very interesting area. But if broken downward, then the next demand area would be here. Also aggressive movement upward, which also would be the 20K round number. Anyway, we're done with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's go to Ripple, right? So this is it. If we zoom into H4 time frame, you can see that we are currently trading inside this channel. So this channel is engulfing the overall movement. So what really happens is price went lower, impulse, correction, then impulse. And why it's an impulse? Because it's going lower. So always the impulse is pushing in the direction of the overall movement, and the correction is simply in the opposite direction. So high, lower, lower, and now price is approaching this area, which is acting. And for those who know me know that I believe that the lower trend line acts as an sold area in this case, and overextended area. So as you can see, the price went down, it's overextended. Then we had to have a retest, right? Now it's overextended to the downside than an oversold area. It happens to be also around this strong demand zone from weekly. So it's a very interesting area to look for buy setups. Okay. So now what? We need 1, break up of this area, 2, the price to retest to look for buy setups. Just like Bitcoin, right? If you remember, we're around resistance, waiting for a break above it, or waiting for a retest till around the lower or the next support area. If you zoom into H1, we can't really add much. If you zoom into M30, we can see that just like Bitcoin, higher than broke below the previous low, which is around here, right? So now the momentum is shifted from bullish and of course from a short-term perspective. So bullish failed to make a higher high, made a lower high, then broke below the lower low. Now we are overall bearish and the price kept moving lower. So that's how you get a feeling it's around that resistance, and this happens. So now you know that the sellers are kicking in. For the buyers to take over again, they have to break what? Above the 1, which is also would be above these rejection areas. As you can see, many rejections from it. But anyway, we don't really care about the lower time frame as long as we are monitoring the higher time frame. So we need a momentum candle close from daily above this bullish candle, so above like 1.05. Then we can know that now we are overall bullish and we can look for buy on the retest. But you can have an early alert that the buyers are taking over if, for example, would have like this is a channel that now the price can go up, make like this, and then break it upward. But it's also better to wait for the high time frame confirmation, which would be a daily candle close above this one, which as mentioned before, and you know what? Let me draw it, which is a 1.05. Okay, so once we have a break above the 1.05 from daily time frame, we can know that now finally the bulls are taking over. But of course, this can be an early alert that the buyers are taking over. But let's wait for a couple of more points just to confirm it, right? So this is it. Meanwhile, until this happens, Ripple can still get stuck around the resistance and trade lower and lower till the 0.6, which is a massive, as mentioned before, support, demand, and everything you want to call it, overextended area, right? And oversold area. It's the intersection of many confluences. Okay, but of course the price can still trade higher, but for the buyers to take over, they have to break above the 1.05. Next, we have Litecoin. Right? I'm trying to go over it fast, but at the same time in many details as possible, just because we want to cover the 7 instruments that you guys requested, and I'd like to make them all in one video, just not for you to go and watch like 7 videos just to check 7 analysis. So on Litecoin, the price is also sitting around an interesting area, broke below the 200, broke below the 300, right, which are the strongest round numbers inside this movement. Now let's zoom into the daily time frame. We can see that we've got this rising broadening wedge. So the price was trading higher, impulse, small correction, bigger impulse, thus bigger correction, even bigger impulse, even bigger correction. So the bigger the impulse, you can expect the bigger the correction to be. Okay, so don't panic when you see a bigger correction because we've got a bigger impulse. Anyway, the price now broke below this trend line. For the buyers to take over, they have to prove that they are strong enough to break back inside the lane, break back inside the track, right? So we need them to break back above this area. So this would be like a fake out, and we need to see this one breaking back inside this lane. And if you zoom in clearly, just like everything else, we need to see a break above this area. It would also be, because it will also be a break above this lower brown trend line. And this green area is acting as a support, obviously, because we've got many rejections from it. It was acting as a resistance previously, broke it upward, many big bullish candles from daily, confirmed on the retest, we're looking for buy, retest again, looking for buy. So this was, I posted this one, an interesting area. I posted this one and with many details and many updates that we're looking for buy setups, because it was the intersection of what? Of this brown trend line and of this previous high, which was also a support area. So this one was a very strong area to look for buy setups. So always try to make sense, always try to add as many confluences as possible. This is how you make sense of the chart, right? You don't need to be smart, you just need to make sense of the chart. Okay, so let's continue. Now we are around a support area. So price broke it downward and the buyers managed to break it up again. So it was a fake out here. However, if the sellers manage to break back below it, we can see the 100, which is the next support, round number, and demand area. And just like Ripple, it would be a very interesting area to look for buy setups. The lower an instrument can get, the more attractive it will be for all investors around the world, right? And the cheaper it gets, the bigger the investor would be interested in investing in it, right? So always think about it in terms of that. Okay, let's zoom into lower time frames as usual. We've got like a head and shoulders pattern forming, which is a typical one because we are in a downtrend, right? Lower highs, and that's it. This is the last major high, which is, as mentioned previously, you know what? Let me draw a level also. So as mentioned previously, this is what we are waiting for, right? Which is, let us mark it like 218 for extra confirmation. Always wait for extra confirmation. So this is it. If we go to H4, this is the last major high. If we go to H1, we can clearly see that. Let me make it in orange because we already have green here, right? So let's make it in orange, like this one. It would be like shiny. So we have a trend line. I posted this analysis also, that we have a trend line, and for the buyers to take over, they have to break or invalidate this trend line. And price now formed a new swing around it. And as you can see, broke below the previous low. But we're around support, so we're still looking for buy setups. However, if we zoom in, we can clearly see that we might have like a giant head and shoulders pattern, right? So this is our left shoulder in orange as well. Perfect, because we've got the neckline in orange in this case. So left shoulder, head, and the right shoulder might be around this area. So we can expect a slight movement downward on Litecoin before we have this break upward. And this area, as you can see, it's what, if broken upward, it would break all barriers. So this is the last swing of this trend line. This is what in orange, as we saw before, breaking back inside this lane or road upward, and also it would be above this structure here, and on M30 it would be the neckline. So let's make it a little bit higher to cover the entire structure, so it would be around 230, and if broken upward, this is the outer rejection area that might hold price down. If broken upward, then nothing can hold Litecoin down unless or until it reaches what, this 300. Okay, so this is it. This is what I'm looking for on Litecoin. And yes, I've been holding all of these. When you see this red, means he's a trick. Like I'm holding, or I'm planning to hold, or both. I'm holding and planning to add more. Okay, so I never share like an analysis unless I'm planning to hold it or I'm currently holding it, right? I don't like spend money and energy and everything else just to make a video if I'm not going to hold it, right? It doesn't make sense. And because I'm doing it anyway, I'm doing my analysis, I'm putting effort, I'm monitoring, I'm putting my alerts, and so what? I will answer it. Okay, so that's one. Meanwhile, until this happens, until we have a break, first of all above this area, second above this one, above the 230, we would be overall bearish, and this one can still get traded lower, and until what? And if broken down, the next rejection would be around this area, around the starting from the 100 till this area here. Okay. Next we have the famous ADA. Okay, I'm a big fan of ADA. For those who don't know yet, let me take a break because we've done half, right? So I deserve a break, right? So ADA has been very interesting and is following the analysis very smoothly and very well. So it was acting as resistance, the one round number, broke it upward, now support. Now the next round number is 1.5, rejection, got stuck inside this one for a couple of months, right? Finally broke, we were looking for a buy here, finally broke this 1.5, finally, right? We didn't have a break. Only wicks and only, I don't know, no candle close even. Not even a small, which is not confirmed, not even a small candle. So broken upward, this was what was enough, right? And for extra confirmation, we also had another 1, 2, right? On the retest, we could look for buy setups, and I also posted this one. So this is how you make sense of the chart, right? You don't need to like read many books. Of course, the more books you read, the more you make more sense of the chart, and the more information you can add to your chart and to understand the chart better. It's just like a language. You can't just like learn it in one day, right? So you need to practice this language with people who speak the same language. This is how you practice it in a practical way. Okay, so you can't just like memorize all the dictionary of this. Even if you memorized all the words, you can't just like speak it fluently. And as you can see, I still can't speak English fluently. I'm still practicing, and so I'm practicing my oral English and my grammar, right? And I've been talking English or learning English for like 10 years now. Okay, so anyway, you've got my idea. So now the price broke it upward. On the retest, we were looking forward for buy setups. Then broke the next round number upward, which is the 2, right? Then found the rejection around what? Around the 2.5. Now, and of course, we had this movement downward, right? Broke below the 2, then broke below the 1.5. And as you can see, it didn't break it, the 1.5, with 2 big bearish candles. Only wicks here, which doesn't count, and another wick. So one candle only, slightly breaking it downward. It broke it downward, but with a very big wick from the downside. So still the buyers are in control. And anyway, we've got many orders filled here. We've got a zone of liquidity, right? And as mentioned before, the cheaper it gets, the more traders will be involved, especially the big investors. So I can like name them, I don't know what, like many I don't care who they are, right? I know that the cheaper it gets, the bigger investors, you know what I mean, are going to be involved. Okay, and maybe this is what this movement was all about, so that the big boys or the big investors, let's keep it big investors, right, want to be involved in this beautiful industry that might be the future. So they were not going to buy at 2.5, so they had to push price down to be more attractive to them, so that they will buy. And of course, they are not going to buy. It's just like Forex. If you trade Forex, you know what I mean, right? So they need liquidity. They need to drive price down, and it happens, right? It's a coincidence that, look, 1, right? So it happens that it's the round number 1, right? And so next, let's go to Ripple, right? So 0.5 or even 1. Let's go to Ethereum, right? It's around what? 2K, right? So look at these wicks. Let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a fantastic example, right? Because the big boys are going for the big piece of the cake, right? Which is Bitcoin. So that's why it's the most perfect example. 30K at the point, right? Look how, I can't really zoom in, the 30K at the point. Anyway, you've got my idea, okay? So here is ADA, you've got the 1. Anyway, the price rejected upward, broke back above the resistance, which is here, big bullish candle, and also confirmed with this one here. So 1.5 is now acting as what? Obviously, support. We'll be looking for buy setups, unless broken down again, then we can say that the next support would be the 1. Okay, let's zoom into H4. Clearly, we don't want to see this one here. Anyway, we'll see it in a bit. This is a post I've posted on, an idea I posted on TradingView. Okay, and this head and shoulders pattern. Anyway, if you zoom into H1, also one, you know what? Let me go to M30. Yes, so that's it. Okay, so what I posted a video idea that I'm waiting, and as per my rules, for ADA to go down to test this area for the head and shoulders to be valid, and then buy on its neckline, which is covering, as you can see, the entire structure. This is where I'm going to buy ADA, which didn't happen as planned. The price didn't go down. I was waiting for this one for, as per my rules, the head and shoulders to be valid and confirmed. Okay, didn't happen. But I also mentioned that for the buyers to take over and break above this resistance, because price was around here, right? And we are broke above this resistance, even though it's not really confirmed yet, as it's only a one candle and not breaking aggressively above it. So I mentioned that the buyers are taking over. If broken above the neckline, which was around here, we might see a bullish movement. However, it didn't match my rules. Okay. Anyway, the reason why now we're going over it is because now, for those who didn't catch the first move, or I personally didn't enter because it's not as per my rules. I'm very strict when following my rules, and that's it. And we can even make an offset. So now it's like an oversold area, so overextended, right? So impulse correction, impulse. So now we're overall bearish from a short-term perspective. We're around support, right, which is this area 1.5, looking for buy setups. So this is a pattern now, and we'll be waiting for price to form a third swing around it, and that's it. Okay, so this is what I'll be waiting for on ADA, and for now this would be my trigger, and we'll adjust it like this. This is where you can say that the buyers are taking over. But anyway, this 1.5 is now acting as support, unless broken downward, right, with a big bearish candle. We can say that now it can test the one again to get more liquidity. Maybe the big boys have more orders to fill. Okay, next, we've got the idea. Many traders ask me about this one. Cheers. So what really happened is we were looking for buy setups, and I posted an idea around here, and then price went down, up, sorry. Anyway, we've got this one here. We have the 0.3 or the 0.3 zone, because it's an entire zone like this. Okay, we've got many rejections from it. So it was acting as support again, then price broke it downward. Right, so we had 1, 2, many bearish candles. So now broken downward, and we had this bearish movement on almost all altcoins. Now for the buyers to take over, well, just from the daily time frame, we need to see another big bullish candle, a massive bullish candle, or 2 big bullish candles closing above it. Then on the retest, we'll be looking for buy setups, okay? Or we will be entering a buy, but around this area. And I'll show you an example in a bit. If we zoom into H4 time frame, we can see that we are clearly still overall bearish, right? So lower highs, and of course lower lows, but we care about the highs more because we want a break above it. So like here, lower highs, and then broke above it. This is where I told you before that we were looking for buy setups. But it's very simple and then straightforward. Okay. Now, we know that we are still overall bearish, right? Very clear. You don't have even to compare the highs, but you get the idea. This is the last swing high, just like we saw an example on on Litecoin and on many other examples. If you go to H1, perfect. So we see a trend line, 1, 2, 3, 4, many touches. We can even see it more precisely on M30. So look, many touches. And this is, as mentioned previously, you know what, as usual, let's make it an orange, right? So this is at 0.33, and that's it. If you go to M30, that's it. Let's make it higher to 0.35, right? Because it's a round number. And anyway, let's keep it 36. Okay, so first we have to have a daily candle above this area and a break above this one here. And we also have what? Like a head and shoulders pattern forming. This is it. This is the head. This is the left shoulder, and this is the right shoulder. So have like a head and shoulders pattern forming And now we can expect a movement upward. Of course, it can still go down, but for us to confirm that the buyers are taking over, we need a daily candle close above the 0.3. For extra confirmation, a close above the 0.36, no matter from which time frame. Okay, but it can be from H1. Then we can say that now we can expect a bullish movement like this one on idea. And of course, we can expect a movement, and this would be the one, which in our case, let me highlight it anyway, which would be our next potential resistance that the price might reject. But for now, this is what I'm looking for on idea. Next, we have Solana, a fantastic project also, just like all the previous ones. And let's go to daily time frame. As usual, this is our demand zone, aggressive movement upward. And as you can see, it's a demand, so it had orders in it, right? Just like we talked previously, remember? It happens, right, by coincidence that it's what? The 20K, right? So that's it. Look how accurate it is. So it happens, right, by coincidence. Anyway, we've got my idea. I hope so. So we've got this demand area, aggressive movement upward, now retest, and the 20K, of course. Now we've got a rejection. So big bullish candles. Now on the, you know what? Let's keep it. On the retest, we are looking forward for buy setups. Unless broken downward, then the next demand would be here, which is also very visible from what? From weekly time frame, aggressive movement upward, and this 10K, right? So just like almost all the ones that we covered previously, looking for buy, unless went down, we have an even stronger area. Okay, and if you go to H4, we can't really add much. If we go to H1, we can see that now the buyers took over, right? So higher high and higher low. So now we're in a bullish trend, we're in a correction phase, so we can expect an impulse to the upside. However, always wait for extra confirmation, as Solana can still trade lower to get more liquidity to be able to push price higher. That's why we zoom in, and that's it. Very clean, wrong arrow. That's it. And just like Ripple, as you saw previously, we've got this one, which is an oversold area. Anyway, this is our entire support, and it can still even test the 20K, just like before going up. But we're bullish. We'll be waiting for what? This, and this. Okay, for the buyers to take over, or from a market structure perspective, we needed to break above the previous high, which is here in this case, or if formed a new high, it would be here in this case. Okay, this is it. Meanwhile, until this happens, until we have a break above the previous high, we would be overall bearish. Okay, next, last but not least, we have Chainlink. Also a good project, just like the previous ones. If we go to this one, so we were overall bullish, obviously, right? We were looking for buy setups, and so on. Then we had this crash, or whatever you want to call it, this correction, but it's not a correction. It's a deep correction, if you want to call it. So, for example, on Bitcoin, if you remember first, this is where we're looking for around resistance, a correction, right? Just like previously, correction before the impulse. Okay, and just like before on all previous resistance, correction, right? Correction, then a bullish movement. However, no one could expect from here, right, that would have this movement downward. We had this correction, expected that the price might retest this 50. Then we had a break below the 50. We can expect a movement till the 40. Okay, so don't predict, we simply speculate and react. And as mentioned previously, yes, that's it. So this is it. So the price approached the 60K, then formed let me show to you, then formed a double top pattern, broke below the neckline, and what's what the double top pattern is simply market structure. So higher couldn't make a higher high, instead made an equal high, and then broke below this. neckline. And I've posted that now we might have a correction phase till the 50. But as mentioned previously, when I was going over Bitcoin, then the price didn't break above the structure, instead broke it down. Then we can know that we might have a movement till the 40K. Anyway, let's go over a link. So we had this deep movement downward, right? Let me go to daily again before we go over this one. Okay, perfect. So we've got the 20K round number and the price rejected it, filled order here, then went up. Just like we made an example, I guess, yes, on Litecoin that was trading inside this road. For the buy to take over, they have to break back inside this channel, okay? That's why I kept it. And if we zoom, and meanwhile, it can still test this 20K before going up, okay? Meanwhile, just like we did on almost all the previous ones. If we go to H1, we can see that we've got this trend line also like Litecoin, right? Exactly like Litecoin. If you compare it now, we've got a trend line. There it's in brown, here it's in blue, and here we have a trend line in both. I drew it in red. So now we've got like a head and shoulders pattern, just like Litecoin. It can go here, make the right shoulder, and then break it upward. Anyway, now we've got this trend line. This is the last swing. So the price, if broken above this area, we can say that now the bulls took over. 1, 2, from daily time frame, it broke back inside this channel. 3, if we have an shoulders pattern or not, this is a very interesting area. So it would be the neckline if the price went down before going up. So that we the head and shoulders neckline, or it's an interesting area which then guaranteed that if broken upward from daily time frame, we would have a close. So let me highlight it around 39 or 38. That's it. This is the area 38.5. Let me, yes. Okay, let's go to daily. If broken above this 38.5, we can say that now we are back inside the range and we can expect a higher or a new all-time high. Meanwhile, until price break back inside this area would be bearish and can still test the 20. In this case, right, we'll be zooming into lower time frames and maybe look for buy setups starting from here. Okay, so that's it. And this is what I'm waiting for. And of course, if price kept trading lower, then we might have a new swing high here, or price can still form like a channel here or any bullish reversal pattern. Anyway, let's take it step by step. Now you know what I'm looking for on these 7 coins or instruments. Of course, if you like the content and found it like useful, leave a like button, press the like button, subscribe, and of course, feel free to request any instrument in the description or in the comment section below. And I'll see you on the next one.